wanted to do it last night, we put one out when I put the name tag on it.
You know what, I should encourage people to do it.
Okay.
All right, well, welcome everybody. This evening it is Wednesday, whatever day it is, February 28th at 6 o'clock. Welcome to the Community Engagement Committee welcomes you to the Strategic Plan Town Hall. This is the second one that we had, following the heels of the one that we held on Sunday. So the plan for the evening is that I have a small presentation that we're going to go through just to give you a little bit of background on how this process started, the work that has been done up to this point, and then what we are looking for from the community, from all of you, from the residents. And then from there, we'll have time for questions. We have we have one of our consultants in the room, so we are welcome to ask her questions as well. And then we'll go from there. And then we have a pretty interactive activity at the end of this, which I will explain in a few moments. So, all right, let's jump on in. First of all, I want to welcome everybody. It's over on the thing. Hold on. There it is. Okay, so a few introductions for those of you who may not know. So we've got our mayor, Stefan Dinsmore, in the back of the room. We have Ashley Snyder is our vice mayor. She is not here this evening. Myself, Sharon Cheney, and David Fisher, who are not able to be here tonight. We also have Brittany Kramer and Melody Mail. And then committee members. So I am the chair of the Community Engagement Committee. And we also have Melody, Ashley, Phil Thomas, and Keegan Thompson, who will be appointed at our next meeting. So, yeah. Okay, so a little bit of background. So this process started in April of 2021, where there was a kickoff meeting with the consultant that was hired by the village to roll out what the process is. So help getting council into that frame of mind of what is a strategic plan? What are the types of things that need to go into the strategic plan? And from there, they did a brainstorming session where they highlighted what their top priorities were, combined all of them, and then reprioritized what their priorities were during that, out of all of the suggestions amongst the council members. Of that, the top result was that, they talked about how the purpose of a strategic plan is to identify what the priorities are, and it needs to be community driven, and it needs to have timelines that these things will be put into place. So the example I gave in the last meeting is that in our house we have what we call our guiding principles. So these are all things that are of utmost importance to us as a household, to us as a community. And anytime that there is conflict or hard decisions to be made or anything of the sort, we go back to how does this serve? How does this fall in line with what our guiding principles are? So that's what we're looking to do with the strategic plan. Same principles apply. But it's ideally aspirational, it's long range, it's reviewed on a regular basis. It is updated so that you know what we are working on and the time frame in which you can expect that it's completed. It goes back to having that transparency, that accountability that you deserve from a council and your government. From there, they had the brainstorming session in October of 2021. And then at the same time, there was also a housing study that brainstorming session kind of rolled into, conducted by Liz Bloom of Bloom Community Partners. She conducted a housing study over the course of many months over 2022, from February to October, where she performed interviews, her and her team performed interviews with residents, both current and former, of Gulf Manor to find out what are their needs, what were we meeting, what would be something that would improve their quality of living in Gulf Manor, what would make Gulf Manor desirable for for people looking to relocate from their current residences. From there, a draft was presented to council, came out of the Community Engagement Committee in March of 2023. And then ultimately, the final plan was passed in October of 2023. So with all of that, we have a couple of handouts here. They were also posted to the Facebook invite for those of you who were able to view it. The materials we have up here, we've got a copy of the memo. That is a summary of the brainstorming activity that was done. That's from our consultant, McDale Bride. And then the middle document here is the strategic plan, the draft that was presented in March. And then finally, a copy of the final version that was passed by council in October of last year. So all of these are here for you to show what the process was, what the types of things were that were discussed. And so that you can tell us, was there anything that we missed? And that'll play in a bigger part once we get to our activity. So from there, we developed a mission statement, which is here. I will not read it word for word, but it is also in the handout as well. And then it was also decided what the priorities are. So we have 6 different categories that are grouped in 2s. So we've got people and neighborhoods, parks and services, and then image and prosperity. And then on the boards here, on the things that we have on the wall, we have the description that is in each of the headers under those categories. So as we go around the room, as you are thinking about these different tranches of ideas, you are then able to kind of see what the language is that has been settled on. So moving forward. So this is where we need your help. We need community feedback. So the first step of the plan is to get community input. And what do we want to know from you? So we want to know, hey, what questions do you have? What part of the plan may need some clarification? What are some ideas that you have? What seemed the most feasible? What seemed maybe the toughest to implement, or that's going to have a longer time frame? And what would you want to see from us to know that we are working on those things? It is important to us that you know that we take our job seriously, and that we also we know that we carry a large fiduciary responsibility. And we want to show you that we are being fiscally responsible, and that we, if there are things that are a wish list goal of ours, that, if we're not able to do it through the budget that we have now, perhaps we're looking for grants or something along those lines. Resources. What contacts do you have to help us implement this plan? There's a lot of individuals in our community we have diverse backgrounds, and that's a great thing about living here and getting to know your neighbors, is that we know that we all come from different walks of life with different experiences, with deep Rolodexes that that we can all collaborate together on. And then what are your areas of interest or expertise to help us implement this plan? Is there something that you're really passionate about that you would want to help us with that? What we will be posting on our Facebook as well as our website, open seats on any committees or commissions that we have. And that'll be on a rotating basis because things change constantly. And so, is there something that you are passionate about that you would like to get more involved with? And then priorities. What are your top 3 priorities for the village in each category? That's probably going to be best if you have reviewed the plan. Otherwise, it could be a very overwhelming job that we are asking you to do. And then finally, what are your top 3 priorities for the village overall? What is something that you would like to see? What are the things that you want to make sure that we're taking into account? It can be a small idea, it can be a large idea. That's for us and the council, and probably a committee that we will end up working on to make sure that we are capturing all of these ideas and putting them to practice. So with that, I don't think I changed this slide from Sunday. Oh, I did. So I wanted to thank you all for being here. Our next community engagement meeting is next Thursday, March 7th at 6 p.m. I invite anybody and everybody to come to meetings, come engage with us, come talk to us. It is really important. It's what keeps us going. It is what motivates us to keep asking the hard questions and to keep doing the jobs that we were elected to do for all of you. And then finally, our next village council meeting is Monday, March 18th at 6 p.m. Yeah, please come to any meeting that you would like. With that, I will open it up for any questions before we kind of break off and do the activities. Anybody have any questions?
Yes. How long is this, like, what is the term for the strategic plan? Is it a 1-year strategic plan, a 3-year, a 5-year, 10-year, or is it just like?
That's a really great question. I know that other communities have done plans where it's like the 2035 plan, or it's been, extended. Of the information that we have done, that we have so far, of the work that has been done, it doesn't seem like that has been determined. So that is still very much an open item for discussion. Thank you. You're welcome.
So who makes that determination? Because if you have a strategic plan, and you don't have parameters, then you kind of work in the dark. If you got a 5-year plan, then you know what your benchmarks are to reach that goal. So who determines the timeframe for the strategic plan? Is that something we're working on tonight?
Yeah,
That is stuff that
if there are tangible ideas that you have that you want to see done within a certain time frame, tell us. Because that gives us framework of that kind of goes into what are the priorities for you. Like, this should have been done yesterday, or let's make sure that we're getting this done, knowing the feasibility of projects. It would be great if we get this done in the next year, the next 5 years. But I do agree with you that there does need to be a portion of the plan that shows what can you hold us accountable to? We've got all of these things on paper. How do we measure success? Like with anything, if you've worked in HR, if you've worked in any form of corporate America, you need to have something that's measurable, that's trackable for accountability. So yeah, part of it is yes, we will flesh that out. Anybody else?
And I know a driver for a lot of that timeline too is like when grants are available. So like kind of going back to her guidelines analogy, say we determine priorities, input from the residents, and something pops up, it's like, hey, we can refer back to the strategic plan. Like that's something that the people demanded, and that we have this opportunity now to try to go ahead and grab that free money essentially, and maybe we can get it done sooner. But the idea is just take multiple paths. Some of them just be longer than others, but it's just literally just trying to prioritize like the lower hanging fruit versus some of the more extended and longer post intent.
So do we have a grant writer who's gonna
We have
write grants and get all this money?
Yeah, and we're actually talking about, that's your idea,
Yeah, we're discussing having a subcommittee, perhaps maybe off of finance, that is focused on grant writing. So a little bit of my background is in grant administration, and we have other community members that work in grant writing as well. So working in partnership with the finance committee to be able to address those opportunities in a strategic and methodical and planned way, so that we're not missing opportunities.
And then when you literally ask, like, what kind of, like are you resourced? Like, if you are good at grants or that's something that you enjoy doing, like, let us exploit you, please. Like, because you don't know what the neighbors or residents do. Like,
Right.
And then to follow up on part of that question, who will be responsible for determining things like, once you take all of this information in, making adjustments, creating timelines, creating these benchmarks, because the current plan doesn't have any. Yeah, so Yeah, I will open it to, if Mayor Dinsmore wants to share, or anybody else.
Yeah, this was a very good question. At our next council meeting, we have an example of this process where we have consultants coming in that then, when you have a park plan, for instance, you have all your input from the community about what we want done in the park. You have a consultant come in and then say, okay, here's the next phase of how you set that up into actionable steps. I know one of the things that the administration has spoken to me about is when we have a list of what the priorities are, those can be written into the, what do you call them? Not job description, but like the job functions, so that individuals within the administration can be held accountable to, different steps in that process, just like the common kind of evaluation form these days we have. These are the goals, these are the action steps, everything. We have, as a community, an agreed upon strategic plan and timeline, and we can operationalize that into a plan that goes out to each of the departments, so that we can track progress and it can be part of annual evaluations. That's what we showed with me on it. To the point about there not being specific timelines on these, the next step of the process is created. We discussed that with McBride and Dale to come back and do a presentation on how to do the documents that have the timelines all very clearly stated out. When we began this process, they gave us examples from other communities, and what you see up there as the current version of the strategic plan isn't the completed process of what the full presentation looks like. The full presentation then has the timelines all made out. So this is just where we are in the process. Does that track correctly?
Will, it doesn't really answer the question of who will be responsible for this. Are we saying it's,
It's just council is responsible for all of this?
or, yeah,
Or are we paying more money to
consultants, who actually will be making these determinations, which was the question that was first.
Yeah, so the idea would be to the point of if there's specific things, like say that there's a goal with the police department, all right, for community policing or something, there's specific actions that we want to be seen there. That would then be the task of the administration to write that in to the job, just to the goals for the annual evaluations of what needs to be done in those particular steps. Is that,
So,
then
so the administration will be making all of these decisions.
I didn't say that. I don't know that I have an answer for you.
I think,
So is it executive committee, is it full council, is it community engagement? Who is taking the input and actually putting it together in a strategic plan? Or are we paying the consultants to take all the input that we have also now gathered
Yeah,
and put it into a strategic plan with actual timelines, priority,
I'd say it's the council.
it's council,
Yeah,
okay.
it's the council's baby, they're the one that voted for it, right? So it's the council's baby on that. Working with the administration to get accountability from people in administration departments in order to make things be manifest, right?
so will the strategic plan be communicated to the residents in draft, or the final strategic plan will be disseminated to the residents?
Yeah, so it is one of my goals to make sure that we are getting that onto the website to where there is a section for the strategic plan that goes through, that really has a lot of this information. So if people were not able to attend either one of our sessions to where we are kind of doing this dive, we will also have an online survey for people to, which I know is not part of your question, but it's kind of snowballing in my head. So that people can continue to give their feedback. But ultimately, yes, this entire process, A, for that transparency, and B, for accountability, is living in a dedicated spot on our website so that you can see what we are doing. And even if there's something that we are doing, similar to, I've used Trello boards in the past, I mentioned it in the last session, but something along those lines to where we are giving updates as to what we are doing. So that at any point in time, you go, I wonder what they're doing with this, and it's right there on our website, so that we're communicating clearly.
So to be clear, Ms. Diane, I think what we're saying is both. You're seeing a draft and we want that to live on the website, but once it's finalized, we want that to live on the website too, and we want you to see that history, so everybody can clearly understand what's gone into this. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I guess my concern is those people who don't have access to a computer,
Right.
people who don't know how to look up the information,
Mm-hmm.
how do we make it available to those individuals, to those residents? Because the strategic plan is really very essential to the efficient operation of the village. And the more people you can get on board with it, who even understand what it is, the more involvement I think you get from people, but they have to see it, they have to know.
Correct.
It has to be an operational part of their lives, so they can see, what that means, what it spells out. How
And so
it's
they can hold us
beneficial.
accountable, right?
Sorry.
So they can also hold us accountable, right?
Yes.
So this is what we're saying we're doing. As a council, you need to know that, so you can say, Brittany, where is this? You said you were doing this. What is council doing, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have not we have not figured out a way to answer that question of how to get more people engaged, other than doing what we're doing right now. Because this was when we joined council, that was the first thing we wanted to do. We needed to get folks involved in the strategic plan, because this current version does not have feedback from our community members, and that is key and super important. And that actually leads to my question to Ms. Blue. How many community members were actually engaged in the housing study? Because I believe that, from my understanding, that is the only point that we actually engaged folks.
A dozen interviews over the course of the summer.
And how did you engage those folks? Like, where did those names come from, I suppose?
Some from council at the time, some from people we knew in the village. We were trying to really get, a good, people who are new to the village, people who've been here a long time, kind of a good smattering. So I would not say at all that it was statistically significant. It was representative. We were trying to find people with different parents, seniors, that sort of stuff. New people who were new to the village, people who were longtime village residents.
Was it also racially and economically diverse?
It was it statistically significant comparison of the village? Probably not.
Right.
But yeah, we definitely had diverse, yeah.
Alright, are there any other questions?
No, but I like to add the adage, it takes a village to raise a child. I think that me being on the one committee and Brian did a lot of work putting these surveys together, and we pass them out. So you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So you can do whatever it is that you need to do to get people engaged, but if they don't want to be engaged, then that's a whole nother issue that you're dealing with. So that is going to be a huge part of trying to get people, how to get them engaged. So even the people that couldn't get online mobilely or on the internet, they had a piece of paper they could have filled out.
Right.
And we're inviting them to all these things, or they could have come down to the park. So I think as long as you're doing everything that you can to put things in place to get people involved, you can't do any more than that. And people can't sit back and say, well, I didn't know, and I didn't do it, and I didn't know, because I think that we're really trying to engage a lot of the people in the community to get this feedback, to get more information. Like tonight, I'm disappointed that there's not more people here. Because it's not like the message hasn't gotten out there to people.
Yeah, no, we hear you. And I think the other issue that, we are aware of, or I am aware of, is we also have to make sure that this is an environment where people feel comfortable to come in, ask their questions, and feel like they will actually be heard, right? And a lot of what I hear in the community is that folks don't feel that way. So they're not gonna show up. So part of our work is to make sure that we are nurturing that culture in our environment, in our committee meetings, in our council meetings, and not shutting down, not creating barriers for participation, but actually encouraging people to speak out and come.
That's
join
true,
us.
and that's about going door to door.
That is.
Because when I went door to door, though, I heard a whole lot of complaints.
Really?
Yes.
I know this is really off the beat path. However, while we're talking about how you get people engaged, in Phelps' remarks, she talked about how people signed up at the park, which means that was a social event. So St. Patrick's Day is coming up, so we had a Golf Matter St. Patrick's Day party and advertising, so people knew it. That would be an opportunity for people to come in and look at the strategic plan and offer their ideas before it's finalized. Because the reality is, as Phyllis said, you know, you can take a horse to the water, you put his head in, you cannot make him drink. And so it does require a lot of hard work on our part to get people to participate.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and we've, if you want to pass the mic down to, Mary Dinsmore. One of the things that we have talked about doing is, is continuing, so if you met with Mel and Brittany and I over the summer and fall, we were doing our coffee corners, and we were getting, we were meeting new people and incorporating new faces and making introductions. So we have talked about continuing some function of those. So for February, hello, welcome. And then for March, we have this community hall, we have spaces where, we can open it up and do, not everything is going to be a big, large scale party.
Right.
But at least where we are opening the doors and inviting people in, and giving, whether we're doing a game night or we're doing something, but we're just fostering connection and we're fostering some communication amongst amongst neighbors and different members of the community. So that is one thing that is a top priority for us, and that is such an achievable goal that we will be putting out what that calendar is going to look like for the next few months. So stay tuned.
Just gonna reiterate what a great community engagement team that we have, great leadership of it. I'm very optimistic that we're gonna be getting the kind of feedback that we need on this. I think it is important to know what the statistically significant number is for these things, so we know, what kind of gap that we're dealing with. But yeah, at the end of the day, the elected representatives are representing their constituencies. And ultimately, when you can't get the horse to come to the water, or you can't get the horse to drink the water, you got to go with the elected representatives that are, representing their constituencies, and then, the democratic process works out the rest of that, right?
Any citations, do we know what that number is?
That would take that'd be very complex, but I think it's
I
important
think
to
we
have
got
somebody
3,000
working on
people,
it.
10% of that or something.
Well, I think we're talking about qualitative and quantitative research. I think that is, yes, we need to do deeper community engagement, and I don't know that we need the exact number we need to hit. I think it's more about how do we do the ladders of community engagement to reach the people that we're not reaching. Right now, we are reaching the surface. How do we go one level deeper? Ms. Diane, how do we get some of your Ridge Acres folks? Phyllis, how do we get our neighbors in Elbrook, right? That is like another level, another layer, peeling the onion back of community engagement, and that's what it is about. It's, as somebody who's done qualitative research for 10 years, I don't think that we need to hold ourselves to finding, 200 out of our 3,500 residents. I don't think that's right. There's not a magic number that's going to get us the exact. It's, are you actually reaching the different types of people in your community? And are you going down the ladder of engagement and actually reaching more and more people, right? So I think that's what it's about. It's not about a certain number, but it is making sure I'm talking to the single woman that lives in Goff Manor. We have a predominantly single women household. Are we talking to the renters? Are we talking to homeowners? Are we talking to people who lived here a long time, recent move-in? Are we talking to people who are in the Section 8 housing, as well as some of the people who just bought the $275,000 houses? All those things to make sure that we have a good representation of the diverse community that we live in.
Thank you very much for those comments. Any other questions before we go into our activity? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I do have another question, and I think this is more for you, Mayor Dinsmore. You stated that this strategic plan was not the final draft. Did I understand you correctly?
No, that has been voted on by council.
Okay.
The next phase in the packet that the consultants gave us, was a package that is then marketed to the community.
Okay.
It's a package that's made specifically to go out to the community. Administration can correct me on this. This is my understanding of what was presented to council as to what the next steps would be.
Okay.
Would be to put it into a package that's to go out to the community and that package has the timelines, the priorities and everything. This particular one, there was two purposes for it. One was to have a document so that if any grants come available, we can show that, yes, we've been thinking about this, all right? And the other piece of it is to give, the community a sense of what our priorities are. The timeline and everything is something separate in that package that says, here's what our feedback says that the top priorities are, here's the timelines for these things. That would all be part of a package that is then specifically made for going out to the community. The role of the consultants is to help with that packaging.
Okay, got it. So that's what I misunderstood. So thank you for explaining that. I appreciate that. Okay, so just to make sure I'm understanding, what we're talking about today, the strategic plan, is the final words, but the council is here to take more information and then package it to officially put it out there.
And that can be as Charlotte, Ms. Brewer was saying, this can be, it's not in stone here, it hasn't been chiseled into stone, it can be altered. All right, we have a council, half of them are new folks, all right, so it can be altered. The idea is we're in a particular place, in this process where, we can continue to tweak it. The main thing is Ms. Bloom has said all along, community engagement is so important for this. So every step of the way, and what I'm proud of our community engagement, their commitment to be doing this on a monthly basis, not just about this, but about all things that the council's doing, that the village is doing. We need that. That makes, we're all residents, right? And that's the best course for this ship, is to have continuous improvement, continuous feedback, continuous input from the community.
Thank you for answering that. And for clarifying.
All right, anything else? Okay, so here's what we're going to do is we've got 6 boards up here on the wall, each representing a section of the plan that was passed in October. With those at the top of each of them is the small description. We have extra copies up here, so feel free to grab one of those. And we also have Post-its and pens, and there's also hard copies on the tables here. Put up your ideas, whatever they are. If it is, whatever your idea is, nothing is too big, nothing is too small. And then we'll be kind of posted at each of the tables, Mel and Brittany, myself, as well as Mayor Dinsmore, to answer any questions that you might have, or if you just want more clarification, or you didn't want to ask your question, in the broad presentation. So, all right, so with that, I'm gonna put the microphone down, and then we will end the live stream here, so it's just gonna be video of us, talking with each other. But please go ahead and give us your ideas. Thank you so much for coming.